can see our first speaker on the screen, at least I believe our first speaker on the screen, Mr. Shivang Rawat, LLB graduate, Amity Law School, who has keen interest in the forensic sciences and company law, and who is has got some very eminent qualifications, like myself, has appeared before criminal courts on a widespread basis. So it'd be very interesting on some other occasion to discuss that. And he's going to be speaking to us about the need for changing dimensions in legal education and the requirement for subjects with practicable applicability. So, Mr. Rawat, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's very sweet of you to give such kind words. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. From where I am sitting, it's afternoon. So thank you so much. I want to thank Chinese Institute of Hong Kong to give me this platform to present my views. Now, I would like to share not the only my views, but the problems which I, as a lawyer, is seeing today. A long time back, I read an article in newspaper which reads that till the time we have McDonald's in this country, in the world, we cannot have Third World War. The essence of the article was that the countries are so much dependent on each other, they cannot afford to have wars. The point I want to raise by this thing is that the amount of cross-border transactions which different companies are engaged today. Now, as a law student, as a lawyer, I have a problem the way the subjects are being taught. I remember when I was in law school, there was no such certain subject, a particular subject which dealt with how and what amount of trade one country or one company is doing with the other countries and other companies. So as a lawyer, when I graduated from this law schools, I actually had no clue myself to know all these dimensions of things. So the only way I could learn this thing from the help of others. I could have gone to a law firm or a better lawyer who could tell me about these things. But the law schools did not help me out. I believe more or less everywhere in the system, every country of the world, we have law schools which focuses more on the aspect about learning, but not how these laws will be implemented at the end of the day. When we will go out of the law schools, how we will find these laws, how will we apply these laws, and where will we apply these laws. Now, I would like to share a very interesting thing, a very interesting development which happened in recent past, which connects China, India, and London. There was an arbitration award passed by the London courts against Reliance companies headed by Anil Ambani. They directed Mr. Ambani and company to pay 717 million to Chinese bank, 3 Chinese banks. Now, this is a good ruling for the Chinese bank. But however, the development which happened concurrent to that domestically in India is that Standard Bank of India has also filed a case against the Reliance Group, and they're asking around a similar amount of money from the company or even more. So there's a possibility that Chinese bank will not be able to get their money because because as per the law, the domestic banks will get the first right on the property and money. Now, this problem raises a very important questions. First, that whether and how these transactions happened, and were the people who drafted these laws in, let's say, in the Chinese law firms were able to foresee such a situation where their money will be stuck, or whether the Indian, and what is the perspective of the Indian banks, whether they will have to fight, have to go another round of litigation with Reliance company or from the Chinese bank to save all that money. So the point I wanted to make is that we should include subjects which could help, which would directly deal with the problems. Problems like how and why one company is investing in other company, what could be its liabilities, what is its assets, how will they get back their money back. Now, there are a lot of cases happening around the globe where the money invested by foreign companies in domestic markets are stuck. They don't get money, like SoftBank. Most of the SoftBank, company backed companies in India are not making any profits, and they are posting losses. And similar situation is in other parts. So law students should have been taught this subject, this thing, that this is the problem, that where your money is there, how to solve this problem, how to overcome this hurdle about about the transaction, our business transactions. So I come from a country where we have been taught in law schools most of subjects which have no relevance. For example, political science, history. In India, we are taught history of European, which are not relevant at all. What they could have taught us that this is the transaction which is happening between the two countries, and this is how these are the problems faced by you, faced by the lawyers, and what will be the outcome, and how will you find the solution of this problem. Now there's another interesting things happened, about the innovative subjects. I find myself that most of the procedure subjects keeps on changing. The whatever we read in books are interpreted by courts differently with course of time. One thing may be right today, may have a different opinion tomorrow. But we should have include subjects like subject which has specific to country. For example, the specific subject related to the trade dimension between India and China. How much trade we are doing, what all goods we are supplying, and what all goods we're receiving, and what problems are these companies facing with each other. These are the subjects which should be included in the law school subjects. Similarly, with rest of the world, in the global economy, most of every country is doing trade with other countries. See, there are states which are doing trade with other countries, but there are private individuals also. And at times, what happens? Let's say a domestic vendor, a vendor in India, does not understand any law in Europe, but he's trying to sell his product in Europe. So he is clueless what is the domestic laws there, and if there is a problem, how to go by that problem. Now, I would suggest that we should include all these aspects in the law school curriculum. Similarly, I would my second aspect of my presentation is that in criminal law, criminal law really fascinates me. In criminal law, we should include subjects where a lawyer can learn and ask questions to get to defend his clients properly. I'll give you my own example. Straight out of law school, I got a case where an accused was being tried for 27 years, and there was a small offense of grievous hurt charge. He was charged for grievous. That was, he has broken someone's hand. In that case, I realized that all the medical documents which were presented by the courts in the courts, no one could understand these documents. They were on the medical lines, and neither the lawyers nor judges were able to understand it. Neither the investigating officer was aware how to understand these documents. So that made me think that in law schools, when we are taught criminal law, when we are taught substantial law, as a procedure, substantial law in criminal sides, why are not we taught subjects like forensic science, crime scene management, which are very crucial for the criminal lawyer to understand and represent his present client in a properly, and help him to save himself. Now, there could be a reason why these laws are not being, they could be in, I am a strong believer that these subjects should be included. Subjects which will help a young graduate, young lawyer to know, understand and question the very traditional knowledge which is being passed from one generation to another. I would suggest that subjects like information technology should be included, a specific included in the law subjects, where people should be taught that what problems a young company or a reputed company is facing and how to solve this problem. I could, in India, there's one recent problem is faced by recent case come up with the High Court of Delhi, where it was related to the copyright infringement. Well, the case was filed by Microsoft saying that there are certain vendors who are using the unlicensed product of their softwares, and the court thought yes, that's right, and court made granted an award in favor of the Microsoft. But this illegal use of Microsoft software is very common in the country like ours, where we can get easy access to like uncracked version of softwares. So if I am a lawyer, I don't know how to approach Microsoft or the other people to inform them that what this is the problem which is you are having and how to solve these problems. So we should, as a law, we should include these subjects in the curriculum there, where we should taught the practical problems. Now, I would suggest one thing which law schools could do is that they could partner with the law firms and send their students to law firms, which and where they can learn or understand that what is the actual problem they are facing. Not doing the research work per se, but to make sure that they are given the problems and ask them to find it. So this is something which we should include as a general uh, as all of us should follow in our law schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excuse
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you very much indeed. That was really interesting. Can I remind everyone that questions should be placed on the chat bar? Can I be heard at the moment? Can I just double check? Can I be heard? Yes? Mr. Rawat, you seem to have muted yourself.
No, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. We'll come to other questions in a moment. Could I just ask you a question as a criminal lawyer myself? You speak about introducing topics such as forensic science, crime scene management, all of those things, and I totally endorse that approach. But obviously, there's always a question of time management. Are there particular areas of legal education you would sacrifice in order to somehow find time and space for topics such as that?
Of course, sir, I will. I'll be very honest with you and a very blunt honest. India was a colony of Great Britain, and the legal system which we follow is similar to the common law. But in our law schools, we are still taught subjects like European history. First, I went to a 5-year law school. In 3 years, I was taught about the history of Bonaparte, how he fought in Europe, about the European history. These subjects could be given away to be introduced new subjects. See, I don't understand how economics will help a lawyer understand anything. Why do we need to learn economics if one has to become a criminal law, or for that matter, tax law? In most of the part of the country, the subjects like economics, political science, history, they don't find any practical importance in the today's scenario. If anyone wants to read about them, they can of course go back and read it. In internet is freely available. But why do you have to invest 5 years of law and some time of a law school in these subjects? I would suggest the subjects which are non-legal should be replaced by subjects which are more relevant.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions to place on the chat bar or to contribute at all? Can I just, in relation to what you've just said about subjects such as economics, history, those sort of subjects, I mean, the approach that you're adopting throws up the question of what the purpose of legal education is, because you're speaking of substituting those sort of topics with, as I understand it, all practical subjects. So you would do away with what I might call, not being an academic, and I'm sorry if this is too basic an expression, but you would do away with all academic subjects, would you, and replace all of them with practical topics, or mix and match, or what would your approach be?
See, I see, Jeremy. I believe that academic subjects which don't find any relevance in today's scenario should be given away. I don't say that legal education should be given away. Some legal education should be there, but not that you focus entirely on legal academics. See, when a young law graduate comes out of law school, he's given a task, whether it's a corporate job or criminal law. Criminal, suppose a lawyer, a corporate firm, they don't ask you about the history of anything. They don't need well established academician. They want someone who can solve the problem right there, someone who can find the flaw. To be honest, if I'm a lawyer and I have a problem, even if a guy knows hundred of history of a particular law, but if he cannot find a way to solve his client, I won't hire him. So the problem, let's be honest to ourselves. When you are out of a law school, see, law schools, you are being prepared to stand alone in the world, and when you are standing alone, you are judged not about how good academically you are, but how fast you can solve the problem, how your judgment.
Well, what you've just been telling us introduces a question from Professor Steve Gallagher perfectly, actually, because his question is, do you believe that law should be a postgraduate subject just for vocational?
No, sir, I don't agree with it. The reason I have just contrary view. These subjects, the very aspect of these should be taught just after your high school, because the early you start, the better you will become. Whatever, see, I have seen people in our country who started practicing law as young as 17 in proper high court. There was a lawyer, I'm sure you would know, his name is Ramjit Malani. He passed away recently. He was 19 when he started practicing, full-fledged practicing lawyer, and he practiced till 96. He passed away in 96, until that time he's working. So I don't understand, I don't agree with it that these subjects should be made postgraduate. On the contrary, these subjects should be taught early in life. In fact, in high schools also. See, we have seen there are a lot of cases where young kids who don't know their basic rights fall victim to the situation. So these subjects, some part of legal education should be taught to young kids also. When they are bullied, when they are harassed, they should be made aware what are their rights and what are the remedies available to them. These should not be these subjects should not be postgraduate, but should be taught early to the kids.
You seem to be suggesting that in terms of legal education, there is no purpose in any form of academic legal education whatsoever, which may come as something of a disappointment to a huge number of people attending this conference.
I'm so sorry.
What do you say about that?
I'm so sorry. I did not intend to do that. I'm just sharing my own experience with others.
Yeah, of course.
My experience may be different from a law professor. I can understand it. But from where I stand, where I see a young man who's charged for murder, will not hire me, does not want an academician who know the concept of murder and everything. He wants someone who can save his skin from the jail. And that is what we are doing. That is what law schools are teaching the kids. Let's be honest to ourselves. We are not being taught. We are not taught to tell right thesis on particular subject. We are being taught to save the people, whoever our client is, no matter how do it.
Okay, let me just interrupt you because your time is almost up. And Professor Steve Gallagher has posed another very thought-provoking question, and it's a good way to end your participation. And Steve has pointed out that under the former dean at CUHK, Professor Chris Gain, there were lots of discussions about core subjects, and apparently Professor Gain suggested removing criminal law as a core subject, although it was his field of expertise. Are you proposing a criminal law degree? Is that something that's, as it were, on your agenda?
Yes, sir. I would suggest that thing. That yes, we should have it. We should not give away this thing. We should have a separate. We should include this thing.
A separate criminal law degree, or these subjects incorporated?
No, not separate law degree altogether.
Right.
But yes, right. we should keep this thing. We should have this criminal degree or criminal subjects in law schools.
Right.
If one has to read academics, I'm sorry, I'll take one more minute to answer, sir. Yeah. Sir, see, if you want to make them make them academics, why don't you have a proper course altogether? Academics in legal education, masters in legal education. Don't include these subjects in law schools, because in law schools you are preparing lawyers who will, at the end of the day, have to save someone, have to do something which is not morally correct. No one is asking our academic knowledge.
Well, I'm sure everyone has found what you've had to say really interesting. I found it fascinating because I'm a lifelong criminal lawyer, and
thank you.
And I can say that I can see a lot of force in what you've said. And even after all these years practicing, I have to cobble together an understanding of individual aspects of forensic science, crime scene management in different cases, in different circumstances, without any so-called legal training whatsoever. So, I mean, it's a big topic and we can't spend any more time discussing it, but you've definitely, provoked a lot of thought. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for giving this platform to me.
Yeah, thank you so much.